Okay, our first principle of the Hermetic principles is the principle of mentalism. Now, this is the foundational principle. So it essentially says that all is mind. And what this principle is about is that all external reality is based upon an idea. Now, you find some similarities between this and the philosophical idea of idealism, in which we view, if you're from that perspective, we view consciousness as being primary. Because there is a universal consciousness from this perspective, in which our individual consciousness is just part of that vast network. So, if we are part of a vast network of universal consciousness, then the idea is that our consciousness, basically our thoughts, our emotions, can affect and bring into existence things on the physical plane. So if we kind of look at this, it's basically the idea that there's this vast field of consciousness and we're but a drop in it. But yet our drop is essential to the systemic interaction of that consciousness. So, since the idea that so much of what we experience is in consciousness, then we essentially, I'll just say, project what we perceive as reality out into the world. And then when we have the power to project what we want out into the world, then the idea is that we can bring a lot of that into creation. So our minds create change in our world by the thoughts that we focus on, because it's those thoughts then that lead to our emotions, which will lead then to our actions. So when we are aware that we're all a part of everything, that shifts our view from being a very linear perspective of life into more of a circular, systematic look at how things interact and observe. Now, today, the idea about how consciousness is primary, you'll find in the work of scientists such as Donald Hoffman, Bernardo Kastrup, who sees that what we perceive is in of itself a part of a greater reality. So the things that are material aren't primary. It's the consciousness that's primary. It's the consciousness that brings the material into the physical plane. So now this is a little tricky because philosophically we all have that pragmatic view of, well, I know that the things I see and experience are real, whether I'm aware of them or not. But that's a little different way of looking at consciousness. It's this idea that there is a universal field that we're a part of. As I mentioned, we're a drop in it, as multiple drops, and it's this universal consciousness that it gives the platform for what everything else to come about. Now, a lot of a more materialist perspective is that there is no universal consciousness, there's only matter, and it's out of matter that consciousness comes. So, for example, in our brain is matter, and out of that matter comes the mind. So, out of the workings of the brain develops the mind. Whereas this idea of mentalism is that your mind is primary because it's part of the universal mind. So that's there first, and then the brain, comes in as a result of that level of consciousness. So it's a very esoteric and really kind of different way of seeing the world. But the takeaway from this is that it kind of empowers you, because you realize that if you're connected, everything in this vast source of consciousness, then the things that you want to create you're just really only limited to probabilities. In that, if you want to create something in your life, if you take the steps you need to, and having your mind, your body, your actions all, focused in at that, it's much easier to bring forth those levels of achievement, of success, of connection with others. So again, this is a very esoteric thing. Maybe I explained it a little bit, maybe I didn't. You could do 3 or 4 hours on this, but like I say, these videos are just a little dive into these basic principles. So thanks for watching.